Our next speaker is not from the west side, if you look at the map, but you got to look down. You have to look down where the map is at. She's from South Africa. Her name is Penny de Villiers, and she's an author, she's a certified speaker, and she's a wellness consultant. And she is the founder of the platform rebalancelife.com. Now, if I scan the room a little bit and try to understand the demographics of everyone, I'm seeing half our students and I'm seeing half our working class people, which is great, I'm guessing. I'm also a working class person. I say that because whether you're in either group, there was one key thing that some parts of us go through, and that is burnout. It's something that is evident amongst every single person or demographics of our population.
Yeah.
Like, it's so funny, I was coming on the train, I was reading a stat from the Dutch Research Institute, or in Netherlands you say, de Nederlandse Organisatie voor Toegepast Natuurwetenschappelijk Onderzoek. Yes! That was awesome. Hopefully I didn't butcher that. So that is the Dutch Research Institute, and they put out a study that showcased that Netherlands companies, or companies in the Netherlands in total, are losing a combined 2.8 billion euros because employees are absent from work, and that absenteeism is due to burnout. Now that's a lot of money if you ask me. So Penny is going to talk to us today about one key thing. Should you try to redefine your worth, or should you burn out just trying to prove it? Without further ado, let's welcome Penny to the stage.
Hello. Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay. I was 23 when I sat in an auditorium very much like this one. Graduation was days away and my head was buzzing with career plans, strategies, goals. And then Jim Rohn walked into the room. Successful entrepreneur, mentor to Tony Robbins, and he handed me his keys to success. He said the marketplace pays for the value that you bring to it. So if you want to earn more, you need to bring more value. That's why a programmer earns more than an accounts clerk. So I set my sails for success. I read books. I stacked credentials. I worked overtime. My CV was glowing. And when people ask me, so what do? You know that question we ask when we want to suss each other out. Well, I had the perfect elevator pitch because I had the job, I had the house, I had the car. I was superwoman until I wasn't. One day, my body gave out. I was unable to hold up my own body weight, found myself crawling around the house. I thought I had something neurologically wrong with me. It turned out to be far more common. Burnout. You think I'd be relieved at the news, but I was ashamed. I was ashamed that I couldn't cut it. So I headed to my therapist's office, slopped on the couch, rattled off my schedule like a machine, to-do lists, side hustles, projects, a million tabs open in my brain, and she just sat there, calm, like therapists do. And then she asked me a question that cracked my whole world open. She said, do you still feel valuable even when you're not doing any of this? I answered, no. But that one word, that reflexive no, really exposed an unsettling truth, that I had built my identity on scaffolding, on titles, on praise, on performance. And now it felt as if that scaffolding was being pulled away. I was terrified. My framework, my worth, had only ever been tied to my output. Is your identity tied to what you do? What happens when you lose your job, or if your health fails, or if your title falls away? While I was quietly falling apart, I realized the rest of the world was too. Asana did research, a global study, and over 70% of its participants admitted to having burnout in the last year. Burnout is not a personal failure. It's a design flaw, and it's been experienced by employees around the world. And the more I looked, the more I saw it, etched in performance appraisals, buried in software, and hidden behind corporate statements in bold, empty font. It was around this time that I met Monique. I was consulting for a logistics tech company, and they were rolling out software that optimized their clients' delivery networks. And Monique was on the team that was going to be replaced. At 8 a.m., the system went live. At 9:15, Monique sat at her desk, a tear tracing down her cheek. She said, "This system has just optimized what I spent the last 10 years of my life perfecting. So why am I here?" I heard my therapist's question echo. Who are we without achievement? Because burnout is just one way that the floor is shifting, but the real quake is still coming. Futurists tell us that more than 50% of us will lose our jobs, or they will morph into something else within this decade. Eric Schmidt, former CEO of Google, says that in the next 5 years, artificial general intelligence will outsmart Nobel laureates and outperform Mozart. Yuval Noah Harari, historian, warns us of a useless class, not because we're lazy, but displaced by code. And besides tech, we are finding people are evaluating the very foundations of work. Universal basic income pilots are being run in countries like Kenya and in Finland. And they are asking this question: what happens when we don't have to work? In those sample groups, they pay people enough money to live on every month with no strings attached. Sounds good. Results are positive. Happiness goes up. Well-being increases. But there's this underlying question: if I'm not earning my paycheck, am I worth it? And so we arrive at the question that will define the next era of humanity. Where do we find our value when our jobs fall away? What is the answer? I believe that our value is not something we earn. It's something we're born with. It doesn't live in our output. It lives in our essence. And that essence isn't generic. It's unique to all of us. Some of you lead with empathy. Some of you bring energy. Some of you teach with clarity. Some of you hold this room steady just by being in it. And some of you carry warmth as if it's woven into your skin. These are our human traits, not outcomes, not performance, just who we are. And here's the real shift. What if your title wasn't project manager or PhD student? What if it was just human? What would your job description be then? After years of reflection and coaching people in burnout, I finally wrote my own. Curiosity, compassion, and conscience. You won't find these three on a resume, but they are my foundation. They're what I return to when I'm winning or whether I'm recovering, whether I'm promoted or laid flat. These three are mine. And so I invite you this evening to think about your three, the three things that remain when the titles disappear, the things that no algorithm can replace, the things that make you, you. Because here are the real keys to life. When you wake up living from your deeper traits, you end each day richer, not in euros, but in meaning, in purpose, in connection. These are not performance metrics, they're human metrics, and they are the ones that we have forgotten to value. They also can't be monetized. Empathy, gratitude, conscience. You won't find them as line items on a spreadsheet. But they are what make you irreplaceable. So let's jump to 2035. AI dispatches freight in milliseconds, and Monique 2.0 spends her day coaching autonomous truck supervisors on empathy. Behind her, the dashboard shows performance metrics, but also moments of curiosity, acts of compassion, and decisions of conscience. When that email arrives one day, your job has been automated, you can reply, my job was never my worth. I remain conscious, I remain compassionate, and I remain curious, and therefore I remain valuable. If schools, governments, companies from The Hague to Washington start from this premise, then we'll stop grinding people into metrics and start valuing them for who they are. Because true transformation is not about optimizing output. It's about honoring essence. So next time you're in a cafe or at a conference, don't lead with, what do you do? But try, what inspires you? And watch shoulders drop, eyes soften, and walls fall. Because when we stop asking people to prove themselves, they finally show us who they really are. Your job isn't your worth. It never was, and it never will be. And no robot can outvalue you at being human. Because the world and the future depends not on us proving that we're machines, but it depends on us proving that we're not.